This video talks about a major part of what you'll be doing, and that is setting up modules. So here are some general ideas behind modules. Modules are how your students progress through the course. So you want students to follow the module, and that will bring them through any kind of lecture that you do, videos, discussions, assignments, quizzes, or whatever you have for that lesson. It should be organized into units and lessons, maybe even chapters too. We're going to take a look at that. Another important point is it should be designed for reusability. The idea is you want to walk into your class the next year or the next semester and just make your modules visible and change the date on your assignments and be ready to go. That's the goal of creating modules. So you want to make them reusable. Of course, you should update your lessons. That's fine. But if you're doing something like typing dates as the main headings, you're going to have to do a lot of editing every time you teach the class. Also, list any assignments and quizzes in your modules. And then modules can also be visible or hidden. We'll take a look at that. And you can also set up prerequisites for modules, meaning the students have to complete one module before the next. However, that's probably not going to be used too much because most teachers don't want to hold a student up from the current lesson because they haven't completed the last lesson. So always reach out if you have questions. We're going to start off by looking at some sample modules. So this is primarily a watching part of the video. You don't have to do this with me at this point. So for example, here is a heading, Unit 1, the Internet. This is following the principle of designing units and lessons. So I actually even have a chapter heading. Your course might not be broken down into that. And then I have right here a page for vocabulary. And then I also have some other pages. Now this style does one page for each lesson. What I would also caution you about staying away from is to putting in dates here as the headings and trying to fit your lesson into a particular date. Just like a textbook, set up your modules and lessons as though it's like a textbook except it's online, because you might not be able to fit all of your content into one teaching period. So you can tell students what unit and lesson that you are on in your daily agenda. So if I mouse over this here, this is a page, this is a page. So this format uses mostly pages for the major content. If I come down here, this is an assessment, and that is set up as a quiz. There's a separate video on quizzes. And then there is a Chapter 2 heading, and it follows much the same format. So this is just one style of setting up modules, but it does follow the unit, chapter, and lesson format. I'm going to look at another course that's set up by Adhesive. That's a curriculum company, and they use the Canvas platform to deliver their curriculum, as you can probably notice by the interface. Well, they start off with a course introduction module, and they have some other things that they have here as well. But if I go to the first major unit, notice how they title it, and they have a numbering system as well as the topic of what the unit is about. Now they have a heading here, and they use a page. Then they have the quiz listed separately. Here is an assignment, here's an assignment, and here is an assignment. And then they go into another lesson. So this is designed just a little bit differently, but it all accomplishes the same task. So let's take a look at the different ways that this can be done. If I go back to my other course that uses pages primarily, one page per lesson, if I look here, for example, I put out my vocabulary in the very beginning as a list. And of course, you can edit this page by clicking on the Edit button. If I cancel out of this, and I go back to my modules, let me jump down to maybe lesson number 3, for example. So in lesson number 3, I set this up and I'm following a format for every lesson to be consistent. So for example, I list my objectives. I list vocabulary for this particular lesson. I have a resources section where I have links to some things. You can also embed a YouTube video through the content editor at the top when this is in editing mode. And then I have a section called assignments. So these are actually placed in, of course you have to create the assignments first over here in your assignments section. So this is one way to organize an entire lesson. So if we look at the editing of this, you can use the tools up here to type what you need to. To insert a YouTube video, quite simply, is you can come up here. There's a couple of buttons up here that aren't in this view since I'm in my free version right now, and you can insert a video. Assignments should not just be direct links to Google Docs. What you should use is actually the assignment section. So you would create an assignment first, a quiz or whatever, a discussion, and then use your menu items over here to add them. So if I wanted to add another assignment, I would click here. If the assignment was previously created, I can just click to add an assignment. So for example, even though this doesn't fit, I'm going to click to select that. So then the assignment comes in here in my assignment section. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. If you wanted to add in discussions, perhaps you can create a heading called discussion. And then what you could do is, I would bold this to follow consistency. And then after that, if I created a discussion already, it needs to be previously created, I would come over here and then add in this discussion. This was an old discussion topic. And then once you have that done, you can go ahead and click Save. But the style that the way this is done is a page contains an entire lesson, and then you use these menu items over here to add things to the page. I'm going to cancel that since I don't want to save my changes. In the other style of putting together your modules, if we look here at what the adhesive curriculum did, they have their main heading, they have a subheading. And so if I click on this, this is a page here, and this is designed very well. You probably don't want to spend time doing it, where they put in certain things on the page. And then if I go back, here is a quiz. So they put things in separately. They did not put their entire lesson all in one page. So that's an option as well. If you are into prerequisites, you probably want to consider doing it in this format. If prerequisites aren't important to you, then you can do a single page as a lesson. So these are all the design decisions that you're going to have to make. There's no right or wrong way, but the idea is your modules should progress students through the lessons. That's the goal. One other thing that's important to point out, no matter how you do your modules, is the visibility of the modules. So for example, this means that this entire module is visible. You can change the visibility of these things. So for example, if I were to click this, it is now not published, and none of this unit will show to the students. So if it's the first day, I probably want to have that unit visible. but I might not want to have all my lessons visible. So I might want to have my vocabulary visible and my first lesson visible. So if that's the case, I will come over here to these buttons and unpublish the rest of the lessons. Most teachers will want to reveal the lessons as you progress through them, and they don't want everything showing at once. So you can proceed through here and hide by unclicking that checkbox and making your lessons not visible. I'm also going to show you how you can schedule a date for making these lessons visible, but because of timing, that's generally sometimes not the way to go, but it's definitely an option. So that was a general overview of modules. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through creating a module.